Imagine this. The words you speak, the phrases you type, even the jokes you share with friends, are not entirely your own. Without realizing it, you've been speaking a language sculpted by invisible machines, machines that decide what you see, what you hear, and what you repeat. This is not science fiction. It is the reality of our digital lives today, a reality in which algorithms are the new editors, the new publishers, the new cultural gatekeepers. And they don't care about truth, fairness, or history. They care about one thing only: keeping your eyes on the screen. In Algospeak, Adam Aleksic pulls back the curtain on how this new linguistic ecosystem works. He takes us inside the algorithm's mind, showing how it quietly shapes the way we talk, the slang we adopt, and even the tone of our voices. As you listen to this journey, you might notice that you, too, have been using words you never consciously chose, phrases born not from human tradition but from code and computation. This is more than a story about language. It's about influence, identity, and control in an age when every word can be amplified or erased at the push of a button. So, if you've ever wondered why certain words suddenly appear everywhere, or why whole communities seem to speak in secret codes, stay with me until the end. Because once you see the patterns Aleksic reveals, you'll never look at language, or your own words, the same way again. And if you find this deep dive as eye-opening as I think you will, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next journey into the hidden forces shaping our world. Aleksic begins by showing how algorithms don't just filter language, they sculpt it. They do this by rewarding emotional impact. Content that provokes anger, joy, outrage, or laughter is pushed further into the feed, while the neutral or unremarkable sinks without a trace. This emotional bias has given rise to what he calls digital rubbernecking, where users are drawn to watch, react, and comment on content that provokes them, even if it's absurd, misleading, or toxic. This is not a conscious conspiracy but an emergent property of a system designed to maximize attention. In practice, it means that the phrases, jokes, and slang that flourish online tend to be those that evoke an immediate reaction, often bypassing deeper thought entirely. As a result, our collective vocabulary subtly tilts toward the provocative, the clickable, and the emotionally charged. This pressure has birthed one of the most distinctive linguistic phenomena of the internet age, algospeak. In its simplest form, algospeak refers to the deliberate alteration of words to evade automated moderation systems. These systems, which scan for harmful or prohibited content, can demonetize, suppress, or remove posts containing certain trigger words. To get around this, users began inventing coded substitutes, saying Unilev instead of dead, sex instead of sex, or using corn as a euphemism for porn. At first, these changes were purely functional, a way to keep content from being removed. But Aleksic shows how quickly such coded language can take on a life of its own. Soon, people who had never been censored by an algorithm began using these words out of habit or cultural belonging, until they slipped seamlessly into casual speech. This is language evolution happening at warp speed, driven by the interplay of human ingenuity and mechanical enforcement. The speed at which new slang now rises and falls is another central theme of Alexic's exploration. In the pre-social media world, a new slang term might take months or years to spread from one community to another, often through music, television, or word of mouth. Today, a single viral video can launch a word into global circulation in less than a week. Aleksic points to examples like Yeet, which emerged from a dance meme, or Riz, short for charisma, which exploded into popularity through gaming streams and TikTok skits. Another case is the phrase "in my EX era," inspired by Taylor Swift's Eras tour, which was initially a playful way for fans to describe phases of their lives but soon became a universal shorthand for any personal mood or identity. Once the algorithm identifies a pattern of engagement, thousands of people using the phrase, it serves it to millions more, making it almost inescapable. This accelerates not only the rise of new words but also their decline, as overexposure quickly drains them of novelty. In this environment, online communities have become fertile ground for linguistic creativity. Aleksic examines the rise of fanalects, the specialized dialects that emerge within dedicated fandoms or niche subcultures. K-pop fans, gamers, anime communities, and aesthetic lifestyle movements each cultivate their own vocabulary of inside jokes, abbreviations, and references. These languages act as badges of belonging, signaling who is in and who is an outsider. The algorithm's role is to keep feeding these groups the content they crave, which has the side effect of intensifying their shared linguistic quirks. Over time, this creates not just slang but fully fleshed out linguistic ecosystems that thrive entirely within digital borders. Yet Aleksic doesn't shy away from the cultural complications of this process. One of the book's most thoughtful discussions revolves around the appropriation of African American English, or AAE, in online spaces. Words like slay, period, and sis have deep cultural roots in Black communities, often emerging from decades of oral tradition and community storytelling. But in the hands of mainstream influencers, these words are sometimes stripped of their original context and used as generic markers of sass, humor, or approval. Aleksic raises questions about what is lost when language is extracted from its origins, especially when the people who popularize it profit financially while the communities that created it are overlooked or excluded from the rewards. The darker side of linguistic spread becomes even more apparent when Aleksic turns his attention to internet subcultures with more toxic or extremist undertones. The so-called incel community, an online movement of involuntary celibates, has developed a dense web of jargon, from black pill, meaning a belief that one's romantic prospects are hopeless, to mewing, a pseudoscientific jawline-shaping technique, to sigma male, a self-styled alternative to the alpha-beta hierarchy of masculinity. These terms, once confined to obscure forums, have spilled into mainstream discourse, sometimes through satire and irony, but often without the audience fully understanding their origins. Here again, Aleksic emphasizes that the algorithm doesn't judge, it rewards content that spreads, regardless of whether it carries harmful subtext. The same mechanics that allow slang to spread also create linguistic filter bubbles. When a user consistently engages with a certain type of language, the algorithm feeds them more of it, reinforcing the words, memes, and phrases that resonate with their worldview. Over time, two people might inhabit completely different linguistic realities online, using entirely different sets of references even if they live in the same city. This contributes to cultural fragmentation, as language, which once served as a bridge, becomes another dividing line between groups. Even the way people sound online has evolved under algorithmic pressure. Influencers have learned that certain vocal patterns keep viewers hooked: the soft, soothing tone of wellness content creators, the bright, excitable cadence of gaming streamers, the careful pauses and emphasis used in storytelling channels. Speech is no longer just about conveying information, it's about optimizing delivery for the platform's metrics. Uptalk, vocal fry, elongated vowels, and clipped sentences have become tools in the arsenal of online communicators who must capture attention in the first 3 seconds or risk disappearing from the feed altogether. As Aleksic moves toward the close of his examination, he reflects on how language itself has become commodified. Identity is now packaged and sold in linguistic shorthand, cottagecore, clean girl, dark academia, each a compact, algorithm-friendly tag that conveys not just aesthetic taste but an entire lifestyle. By adopting these terms, users make themselves more searchable, more categorizable, and ultimately more marketable to advertisers. It is language as branding, identity reduced to a keyword. Yet for all the challenges and distortions, Aleksic ends on a note of cautious optimism. The rise of Algospeak, for all its oddities and compromises, is also a testament to the adaptability and inventiveness of human communication. We are, he reminds us, a species wired to play with words, to invent new ways of saying the same thing, to twist and turn language into forms that surprise and delight. The algorithms may set the conditions, but within those conditions, people continue to find ways to make language their own. It is a reminder that while the medium changes, the fundamental human impulse to connect, create, and communicate remains as strong as ever. When the last page of Algospeak turns, you're left with an unsettling clarity. The words that flow through our phones and across our feeds are not drifting there by chance. They are curated, filtered, amplified, and sometimes erased entirely by systems designed to measure only one metric: engagement. And yet, within this web of control, humanity's old instinct to bend language to our will still shines through. We twist words, invent codes, build dialects, and play with sound, not just to evade algorithms, but to connect with each other in ways the machines cannot fully predict. The question Aleksic leaves us with is not whether language will change, it always has, but whether we will remain the one steering it, or simply passengers carried along by currents we don't understand. In the end, Algospeak is not only a warning but an invitation. It asks us to listen more closely, to question the words that feel like they've always been here, and to remember that every phrase has a birthplace, a history, and a reason it survived. So the next time a strange new word pops up on your feed, don't just use it, ask yourself where it came from, and who taught you to say it. Because in the algorithm's world, every word is more than just a word. It's a signal. And signals, as we've learned, are never neutral.